Greetings, this is Michael W. Ford. Recently, I have just released a recording entitled The Rituals of Demonic Possession. Now, if you go back to one of my earliest books, Liber HVHI, since a child, I've had a great inspiration and passion for concepts around demonic possession. Now, I'm not going to go off into the concept or explain my views on if I believe that is a legitimate experience or not. That's up to the individual in your own opinions. But it's a very inspiring concept for me. It's something that inspired me when I was a child, as early as I can remember. Which of course that pegged me as the weird kid, because things that generally frightened and terrified people I was attracted to and found strength in. So the Rituals of Demonic Possession, I took the 1614 Roman Catholic exorcism rituals, and I reversed them, changed them, and inverted them, still within their pattern and structure, to act as, instead of exorcism, an invocation to call in unclean or demonic spirits. Some of the earliest and most focused Luciferian magic initiatory workings is focused on understanding, strengthening, and commanding your will. And throughout that, struggle, challenges, strife, all of these endeavors which push you to your mental and physical limits, if this is your path in Luciferian magic, it invokes a panic sense of the ecstasy of darkness, or spirits associated with the elements, your imagination and how you view energies, whether it's a spirit, demon, fallen angel, archetype. It doesn't matter, as long as you're inspired when you're invoking and using the possession ceremony. You're calling in what many would be considered dangerous and quote-unquote evil powers or energies. I don't view so-called demonic spirits in that imagery, and have experienced it for over 20 years. I don't consider that to be negative or destructive. There's a point of initiation that you have to consider when you invoke primal unconscious forces, or if you can prefer to call them demons, that's up to you. But when you do this, the will of the Luciferian is to bring that spiritual ecstasy within yourself, conceptualize. Greetings, this is Michael W. Ford. Recently, don't submit. You never submit. You face it and overcome it with an iron will, using your imagination, will, desire, belief, and consuming it. And then, now, considering the act of invocation in a satanic imagery concept in possession, the recording, Rituals of Demonic Possession, obviously the first track, is a recording of the actual ceremony the ritual possession being performed. Now, I do that in consecutive manner. The music is evocative of a more or less all you can think of when you would have a concept of demonic possession. It's kind of dissonant organs, soundscapes. But one of the highlights that has been something I've been interested in years as being a musician is using layers of vocals recorded and then put in at different pitches and really arranged to be a cacophony of demonic chants, screams, howls, all of those things that you would consider really to support the evocation of that type of beast within yourself. Now, the other tracks on the recording are meant to be meditative or dream-inspiring soundscapes or ritual backgrounds for specific types of some of the darker Luciferian magical workings that you may do. And those are layered also in that structure of demonic cacophony. So, Rituals of Demonic Possession is available via Luciferian Apotheca. You'll also find the CD on Amazon. So, check it out. It's under Akhtya. And I will continue doing recordings in this area. Very happy for me considering the period of Samhain and Halloween. And I hope you find it infernally interesting. Another album which is now available, which I recorded last year, is from a project I was involved with in the early 90s called Darkness Enshroud. Now, the new album, Antitrinity, was kind of a new ground for me with ambient music and ritualistic or black ambient, dark ambient, in that I utilized your standard dark dungeon synth type foundation, but it has so many layers of specific invocations that I've utilized over the years for the concept of the Antichrist. Now, this album is both a ritual and within contemporary black metal concepts, a piece of musical art in the sense that it's not your standard type of album. Now, I want to say Antitrinity is based on and inspired by my studies and passion for the medieval apocalyptic tradition, or the apocalyptic artwork of the Dark and Middle Ages, specifically in Europe. And the sigil used on in the Darkness Enshroud Antitrinity is a coat of arms that was first it was drawn in around 1271 AD medieval English apocalyptic illuminated manuscript depicting the Antichrist, and it was around the time of Edward I. So this concept of the Antichrist is very beautiful to me. For a Luciferian, we don't believe in literal Antichrist because we're not based within the Bible. The Antichrist, as I learned in my initiation in the 90s from John Whiteside Carson's Thelemic ritual text of the Antichrist working, which I undertook my own in the late 90s as well, presents the Antichrist as everything that is not counter the concept of Christ. So you're not taking the lead of what they call good and then doing the opposite just because. It's actually using the symbols of the pre-Christian religions and those things which they consider demonic and dark, and using it as a symbol of strength to go outside of Judeo-Christianity. Thus, every individual can be an Antichrist in that your mind, body, and spirit, your temple of self, doesn't necessarily go around denying Christianity, but lives to the standard that it doesn't exist. And what I mean by live by the standard is that you have your own socially conscious, even if you're a misanthrope or an introvert, you have your own code in life, which doesn't involve good, evil, Christ, any of those concepts. You don't need religion to tell you to be a decent, honorable, strong individual. There are three parts in Antitrinity. It's Antichristus Mysticus, the spirit of the adversary. Antichristus Magnus, transformation, invocation, and then Iniquos Predicores Antichristi, or wicked preachers of the Antichrist. Once again, that's a ceremonial invocation of all of the apocalyptic concepts. And you'll find that in the recording. So I'm embracing, in a magical sense, all of these concepts and incorporating them accordingly. So Darkness Enshroud Antitrinity is available from Dark Adversary Productions out of Australia. They have a great mail order, and they also have t-shirts available. Now, the sigil of the coat of arms features 3 frogs, and that comes all the way back to 1271 in an illuminated manuscript in a medieval warfare concept. I utilized that mythological coat of arms, and I imported the ATX, which is the spelling abbreviation for the Antichrist, in some illuminated apocalyptic texts, and the solar number of 666. All of this is a wonderful thing if you're into this type of imagery. If you're one of the Luciferians that is more towards the pagan pre-Christian gods and not utilizing the infernal imagery, well, that's fine too. But this is really for fans of that type of genre. Finally, there is Valfor's Ceremonial of the Ordeal, which is a ritualistic contemporary black metal dark ambient album.